Kung Fu started because I have a love of both poetry and music, as is often the case when one is passionate about things, particularly when one is young. That sort of becomes quite obsessive. And when you're obsessive about things, that can tumble over into sort of becoming a bit of a snob. And I think I was that. You know, I kind of went from music is the universal language, man, and everybody can access it in whatever way they want, to like being in a pub with my mates. I specifically remember one time being in a pub with some friends, and my mate just happened to mention that he liked the new George Michael song. And I just lost it. I was literally on the table, mate, you are wasting your life! You're wasting your life! Unless you are listening to the Mahavishnu Orchestra and John Coltrane, you are wasting your life, my friend! Now, I am the father of 2 young girls, and it's actually quite difficult to maintain that level of pretentiousness while swiping bums and reading Gruffalo every day. And I'm probably a nicer person for it, but there is part of me that kind of misses those wild old obsessive days, right? And that's kind of where I'm at. I suppose, you know, that there's a very real probability that my next poetry collection might just be called Mr Tinkle and the Friendly Badger. I'm not joking. It's like it's almost written, right? But there's a bigger fear, a kind of more existential fear, that one of these days I'm just going to wake up and start shopping in Mountain Warehouse for comfortable trousers with extra zips, and like listening to Phil Colins and thinking, it's got a good beat. It terrifies me, right? So like many other artists, I sometimes imagine that I'm the star of my own film. Does anyone else do that? Does anyone else? Thank you, you 3, for your honesty. Okay, it's just us. So what we're going to do is we're going to a piece which is sort of like, if there was a sort of trailer to the film version of my life, right, then this would be it. So, band, we're going to start early morning. There's a sort of familial kind of love feeling, but like with an undertow of impending malady. A kind of discontentment and the wrestling between the kind of old, wild, obsessive self and the younger obsessive self and the kind of older, sort of more responsible, got to keep this together self, right? And where that's going to sort of build, and then in the middle, I'm going to break it down, and Pat, I'm going to give you a cue. I'm going to say in slow motion, right? This is the cue, in slow motion, and I'd like you to do something that approximates the drum fill from Phil Colins' In the Air Tonight, and then we're going to segue into like, if you imagine like a middle-aged man getting hold of GarageBand for the first time and trying to make a dubstep version of like Creep by Radiohead, something a bit like that, okay? Yeah. So we'll start with familial love. Yes. The opening shot is a darkened bedroom. We see me asleep, arms around my wife and sleeping daughter, Polly. I'm dreaming of the artist I once was. Free. Polly presses her soft face into mine and says sleepily, I love you, Daddy. I stir, smile, snuggle into her, then my eyes snap open. Her words are warm comfort. Enemy of my creativity, my autonomy. Polly farts and says, ah. My wife says, morning, love. You making the tea? I make tea for the enemy. Cut to me in the kitchen. I'm eating Marmite on toast, reading a book about Tom Waits. Close up of my hand, scribbling the words Ford Mustang, whiskey, nipple tassels. Polly's tugging at my leg. She says, Daddy writing? Daddy write with Polly? Okay. Shot of us on the kitchen floor drawing colourful scribbles in crayons with big paper. She says, pretty patterns, Daddy. I said, they're ironic, Polly. She just looks at me and sings, I've been to Button Moon. I free associate. Moon, space, David Bowie. The opening riff to a new song starts to sneak into my brain. Da-dun-da-dun, Daddy. Da-dun-da-dun-da-dun-da, Daddy. Da-dun-da-dun-da-dun-da, Daddy. I open my eyes. I'm staring at Polly's bum. She's kind of weed on my hand. Cut to another morning. Let's have a bit more like of a pace now. Cut to another morning. Yeah, like this. I'm rifling through the presets on my guitar distortion pedal. Lyrics about friendly mice keep trying to sneak into my brain like friendly mouse, you are my best friend in the world. And I pushed them away, reveling in the feedback, like, ooh, ooh. It's like it's beckoning me, you know, to unburden the aching balls of my creative horn. Ooh, ooh. And I walk towards it, ooh. Then remember, shit, it's bin day. I throw my coat on and shuffle out of the back door, dragging the wheelie bin behind me, my breath, the cold fog in front of my face, thinking, well, at least I can look moody in the lane for a while. I look up at the window, and Mandy and the girls are waving at me, and all I feel is stupid human love. All I want to do is get back into bed and sing songs and tell stories. And I think, no, Chris, snap out of it. Think, man, think. What would you do? What would you do if you were in a Radiohead video right now? Shh. And I did what any man approaching his first midlife crisis would do. I tore off my clothes and ran down the lane in slow motion. Oh. Yes! I'm a creep! I'm a weirdo! Shot of Mandy at the window, rolling her eyes, I don't care. What the hell am I doing here? I'm running down the lane, towards the river, in the nude. I'm a creep. The stones are hurting my feet, but I tell myself the pain is just part of my experience. I can feel wind in my hair. Feels like I've got hair. Shots of me throwing off metal shackles like whoop poof, whoop poof. And I see our neighbour. I've raised my hand to give him a victorious high five. It's like, yeah, me and you, man, me and you, we're the same age, we know this. High five. He thinks I'm waving. Morning, we miss. Awkward. Keep running. Keep running. Keep running. My left foot lands in a cow pat. I live in Somerset, right? Straight through the crust and into the fetid liquid beneath. It's freezing. I stand holding my shriveled genitals, staring at the water, and turn for home. Mandy gives me a cup of tea, puts a towel around me, gives me a look that seems to say, "Is this okay? You feel better?" Polly says, "Daddy's got poo feet." And I hop upstairs. Phil Colins is on the radio, and I can't help thinking that has actually got a good beat. Thanks.